Welcome back to The Thoughtful Advocate. I'm your host, Elizabeth Teo. This is part 2 of our deep dive on the question, should you have kids? In part 1, I covered my C-section birthing story, and today we're going to cover a couple of things that you should consider before having a kid. The breastfeeding struggles, sleep deprivation, how having a kid really changes your relationship dynamic, and plus the financial impact that having a baby can have. So if you're on the fence on deciding if you want to have a kid or not, this episode is for you. It'll give you a better idea of what to consider when having a child. And personal story, I'm a mom of a 6-month-old baby and I had a C-section. And to all the parents out there listening to this, you're not alone in this. We're in this together. So grab your cup of tea and let's just dive right into this. So the topic that shocked me the most was breastfeeding. I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be, but breastfeeding is one of the hardest parts of the journey. So you basically wake up on the baby's schedule. They turn into the boss of the household, which in the beginning, the first month, was every 2 or 3 hours. Because their stomachs are so small, the size of a cherry, they need to be fed often. So yeah, it was very difficult because when you're waking up every 2 to 3 hours, then you're not getting sleep. Because for me, it takes me an hour to go to sleep. So by the time I wake up, I feed the baby, I try to go back to sleep, then it's the baby wakes up again. So I'm getting zero sleep basically, This is why it's important to have help, because it's very difficult. And because you're building up your supply at that point, you can't even pump enough to store milk, so it's not like you can hand them off to your partner unless you're doing formula, which at this point, because I was producing so little, I needed to supplement with formulas. And while pulling all-nighters sounds fun, especially when you're young, that on the top of learning to be a parent and taking care of someone who's dependent on you, it's very difficult. It's not like pulling all-nighters for university when you're playing video games with your friends, playing League of Legends with your friends. It's a very different experience and a stressful one. But yeah, I wanted to breastfeed, and I'm still breastfeeding now, and I'm very lucky that I can, because I saw studies that if you breastfeed your baby, their immune system is stronger, so at least for the first year. So I'm going to do this as long as I can, but it is very difficult. And I think if I were to do this again, or if I were to be a new parent for the first time, I would like to do more research on breastfeeding. I did take some classes, but I don't think they really talk about everything. I'm feeling a lot of guilt because I wasn't producing enough. My supply was so low. But also I felt a lot of guilt because I was oh my gosh, I can't produce enough to feed my baby. I'm a failure. Why isn't my body doing this? There was also the lack of control and the little sleep. So yeah, I was beating myself up when I shouldn't have. My baby is now healthy and chubby, but it was hard. When I saw him crying, I was maybe because I'm not feeding him enough, I'm not getting enough milk. So it led to all this downward spiral things. Another thing people don't prepare you for is pumping. So eventually I started pumping. There's something called Dysphoric milk ejection reflex, and it affects 6% of people who are breastfeeding, but I swear that should be higher. So yeah, when I was pumping, I didn't realize I'd feel depressed basically. I felt a deep sadness when the milk let down. There's a deep sadness that comes with the milk let down when you're pumping, and I was why do I feel so horrible right now? And it just didn't make any sense. So yeah, I felt hollow, empty, I just wanted to cry. And apparently there's a name for it, dysphoric milk ejection reflex. And I hated pumping at that point because I was oh, this is really bad. And the reason I was pumping was, well, you're supposed to pump to increase your supply, but also we wanted to bottle feed him a bit more so that he wouldn't be so clucky and gassy. But yeah, the good news is this can happen even when you're breastfeeding directly, which I didn't get luckily. I don't think, at least. I think I just had postpartum depression. So yeah, I only felt it when I was pumping. But the good news is it typically improves after breastfeeding is established. And that happens within the first few months. And yeah, our baby was born 36 weeks and 5 days. And as an Asian baby, he was almost guaranteed to develop jaundice. And this is another thing which I wish the doctors would have told me about, because I had no idea. I was why is he yellow? So yeah, The fact is 60% of all newborns develop jaundice, and East Asian babies have higher rates. And this is due to genetic difference in the bilirubin. And this is due to the genetic difference in the bilirubin processing. So East Asian babies, like livers, East Asian babies, their liver to mature and efficiently break down the bilirubin. So yeah, but I was worried at first, but when I was talking to other people like John's family, they're like, oh yeah, the grandparents or babies had jaundice too, but it went away. It's very common. So I was like, okay, we're not doing anything wrong. I was freaking out. And as long as the baby like pees and poops it out, so that means that they're getting a lot of fluid and they're eating a lot, then the jaundice should go away eventually. And which it did. It did. So yeah, we were supplementing with formula, and I know a lot of people say like, oh, like they shouldn't be, like you should be breastfeeding, but if you don't produce enough, then you need formula. Like there's all sorts of reasons. So if you have it, you can use it. If you need it, so that is best. So yeah, I'll talk more about sleep. Basically, non-existent. Before having like the baby, I was talking to my coworkers and people in general who has kids, and they're like, yeah, say goodbye to your sleep. And it's like, yeah, it's really true. I used to sleep in a lot, but honestly, I think I would sleep too much. But here's the science of why a lack of sleep can be so devastating. A lack of REM sleep can cause mood disturbances, memory issues, and even hallucinations. So yeah, sleep deprivation itself can really affect the prefrontal cortex. That part of your brain is responsible for making decisions and also emotional regulation. And that's why everything feels so overwhelming and exhausting, because you're going through it and you're getting so little sleep. And because you're not getting that deep sleep that you need, you can start to have wild dreams. Like I was having crazy dreams, like all my fears like were manifested into my dreams. So like, for example, like Ace's head popped off. That was my worry because his head was so small and he was so fragile looking. And then I had another dream that I forgot to feed him, and I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And so every time I would wake up, I would be like not only stressed, but like panicking because I just had a terrible dream. So research shows that new parents lose 109 minutes of sleep per night, and that's during the first year. And that's nearly 2 hours less every single night for 12 months. So yeah, sleep is important, which is why it's important to take shifts with your partner so that you can get sleep. And if you have family or friends or people who help you, then you can also get a rest. And it's really difficult for one sleeping during the night to sleep in during the day, but you honestly have to try to get sleep whenever you can. So if it's the daytime, that's the daytime. This is why it's so important to have maternity leave, parental leave, because that way you can get sleep. Because I don't know how people are going to work after this. I would not be able to. And yeah, at this time, it was also the winter. So this is beginning of January. So winter in Canada, very depressing. Leaves are gone, trees are dead, and it's just gloomy outside. So seasonal depression and this postpartum depression is very difficult. Staying inside all day definitely made it worse for me because it's like I could only focus on my worries. When you go outside, you can see that, hey, everything's okay. You can see the trees, the wind blowing through there, the sun is out. But during the winter, even if you do go outside, it's like everything's dead. But at least get some fresh air. Natural light is crucial for supporting your circadian rhythm and also your mental health. But I remember showers really being my lifeline because I didn't realize like how exhausting it would be because we had to carry him for many hours at a time, like 4 hours, sometimes 3 to 4 hours at night, especially. His worst time was like 7 to 11 p.m. at night. And so me and John were just taking turns like carrying him. It's exhausting. He's light, which is good, but as time went on, he got heavier and heavier. And he like doubled in size, so yeah, he got really heavy, and it was just a lot. So my saving grace was showers. Like I didn't realize how crucial showers were. Like it could literally revive you, give you new life. So every day I would try to take a shower no matter what. Like I get John to watch him, or the first 2 weeks. The first week my mom came to stay with us, and then the second week his mom came, which was such a blessing. And yeah, I would be able to take a shower every day. So at least during that time I could reset myself and also wash my wound, and yeah, so crucial. And yeah, there's a science behind this. Like warm water can increase blood flow and trigger the release of endorphins and basically giving you temporary relief from stress and anxiety. But yeah, I think being a new mom, having a baby is like an emotional roller coaster. Like when your baby's happy, you are on cloud 9. Everything is beautiful. The sun is shining. There's rainbows, unicorns, butterflies. Like you just feel so good. But when your baby is sad, you feel like everything's about to end. Like you feel like the world is ending. So it's the emotional roller coaster life. Like you'll feel the darkest moments, and then you'll feel the highest of highs. So yeah, but I wouldn't trade it because he's so happy and he is such a blessing. Like he's everything. I like stare at him for hours. I look at his photos even when I'm not with them, and yeah. So it is hard the first month because they're not really smiling, so you can't really tell if you're doing okay, if they're happy. Luckily for us, he started smiling at the end of the first month, and that's really early. So yeah, he started smiling in his sleep when he was waking, just like randomly when he wasn't in pain. And I think I read somewhere it's like a muscle reflex, but I was like, oh, he's okay. The smiles just makes your whole day, honestly. And especially when he started cooing, like it just makes my heart burst open. Like, oh my god. And yeah, those tiny wins are like what you need. And I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, yeah, it's like a reward, basically. And I was like, oh yeah, it kind of is. Because, the whole time they're crying for nonstop sometimes. They're like, am I even doing okay? But then it's like when they smile, it's like, oh, okay, I'm doing okay. So yeah, it's like a reward. A huge reward. But yeah, the colic is horrid. It's like the hours of crying, they're like my baby, he would turn like red up here, and I would know he's in pain, and he would scrunch up and just look so uncomfortable and then scream and cry. And it's like there wasn't much I could do, and there wasn't anything I could really do besides like hold him. And so sometimes it would just be hours of that. But yeah, we tried everything, different formulas, different foods, like for myself, and it was really difficult. And colic affects about 20% of babies, typically around 2 to 3 weeks of age and peaking around 6 weeks. And the definition is crying more than 3 hours a day, more than 3 days a week. Yeah. We did everything, like changing the bottles, formula changes, me eating differently, and I was lost. And, making sure like everything's okay, changing the diapers. I don't think it's just the crying, it's the feeling of feeling helpless that really gets to you, because it's like, that's your baby. You want to do everything to make sure he's okay. And when you can't, it's like, you feel like it's your fault, So yeah, I think having a baby, I think being a new mom being a new mom forced me to unlearn that I always had to have a mask on, that I was always okay, that I always have to smile, because when you're in the trenches, the newborn trenches, you can't fake it because you have no willpower at that point to fake anything. I really had to unlearn the pressure of acting like I'm fine. So in many Asian cultures, there's the period of confinement, which sounds like sitting in jail, but basically the mom is breastfeeding or in bed for 30 to 40 days after birth. And it's basically where new moms are cared by family. It can feel restrictive depending on your stance, but I think it's kind of nice because studies show that having postpartum support can reduce postpartum depression by a lot. So yeah, cultures with strong postpartum support can lower postpartum depression. And honestly, the Western idea of bouncing back quickly, a lot of people celebrate moms who get their figure back right away. And that is very damaging because it can take a long time for, you to even heal, and for you to get your figure back, that's not even important. So yeah, I didn't realize how much I needed help at that point. Even just holding the baby or doing chores, because very difficult to clean, and I hate cleaning in general, so keeping up your chores is difficult. I think we have 3 baskets full of laundry. Even making meals, doing anything extra besides taking care of a baby was really difficult. Having help relieves a lot of pressure. So yeah, I think we also need to talk about the financial aspect of having a child, because it can be expensive. The USDA estimates that raising a child to the age of 18 can cost $233,000 basically. So that's about $13,000 a year. But this doesn't include the hidden costs, especially in the first year, That's like diapers alone. That's like diapers cost like $2,000, $3,000. Formula runs like $1,200 to $1,500, and this is annually. Childcare costs can vary a lot. Daycare can be like $1,200 per month. Medical expenses, luckily in Canada, like baby's medical expenses and ours as Canadian citizens is covered. But in the US could be $5,000 to $10,000, even with insurance, which is crazy. It also affects your career. As a mother, there's something called the motherhood penalty. Basically, your career can take a dip. Basically, your salary can take a dip when having a baby. Research shows that mothers earn 4% less per child. It's crazy. While fathers can actually increase their salaries, which is weird. The key point is you have to plan for it. Make sure you have your savings in place that you can afford everything. Financial stress can increase postpartum depression and also with just stress in general. And it can strain your relationship, which is also very important. So yeah, I think motherhood also showed me that I have to choose myself because no one else is going to do that for you. Yeah, motherhood showed me that I have to choose myself because no one else is going to do that for you. And you're going to have to put yourself so that you can put your baby first. And it's like when you're flying, they tell you put your mask on before you put your baby's mask on. And because you need to make sure that you're fully alive and equipped so that you can take care of your baby. And so yeah, I choose me every day. I take showers as often as I can, especially when I'm sad. It really lifts me up. When I'm angry, I try to eat because I know something's wrong. I get hangry in general. When you're breastfeeding, you lose a lot of calories too, so you need to eat. And when I'm exhausted, I sleep. Even 15 minutes, close your eyes when baby's sleeping, that is your best bet to sleep. It can be hard because they're making a lot of noises, but it's your best bet to try to sleep during that time. Fresh air, getting outside, seeing the sun, breathing that fresh air, so important to feel like human, to feel that everything's okay. Even 5 minutes of outdoor exercise can improve your mood. So yeah, relationship. Honestly, having a baby can affect your relationship in so many ways that I didn't realize. You're not going on dates anymore. You're more like employees that work for your baby. So you're more like nannies that just happen to live in the same household. And so it can feel very isolating, and the romance can kind of feel like it's like disappearing too, because you're not doing like your usual things together, and you are both sleep deprived, so that makes things worse. You're very emotional and you're learning. So yeah, relationship satisfaction usually declines within the first year. So yeah, you have to learn to communicate differently and show up for each other because it's so important. Research shows that parents who maintain their friendship, because I think part of being in a relationship and having a partner is like honestly being friends first. So maintaining your friendship and this gratitude, you're more likely to survive through all this. And yeah, motherhood can feel lonely and isolating. You can feel disconnected from your friends, maybe because they don't have kids themselves, and you're kind of mourning the old you, the one that you had before having a baby. So it can really change your life. So yeah, if you're wondering if you should have kids, know that you're gonna birth your whole heart out into the world. And you'll cry, you'll laugh, and your life will never be the same after this. But you'll need to ask yourself, are you willing to heal the wounds so that you don't pass generational trauma onto your baby? Are you ready to be emotionally available for your child? Can you put yourself first so that you can put your baby first? Can you find joy in the heart and peace in mess when the world is spinning around and when you're basically in a tornado? That's what it feels like. Can you find calmness within yourself? And do you have the financial resources to help you? And also, do you have the support systems that can also help you? And are you ready for the relationship changes that can happen? And this is to the mom crying in the shower, or the dad wondering if you're enough. You are. This journey will break you and build you in ways you'll never imagine. And you don't have to do it alone. If you're struggling, please reach out to someone. There's an international postpartum support line, 1-800-PPD-MOMS. There's also support groups on Facebook that you can join. I think hospitals also have their own resources that you can ask for. I think it's also important to get a therapist at this time. I remember getting a therapist for postpartum depression because I knew it could be a very high possibility since I have depression already. So very important to prep. Okay, so thanks for listening to The Thoughtful Advocate. And if you know someone who needs this, who who's questioning if they should have kids, or maybe they're preparing for a child, you can send them this episode to hopefully encourage and get them thinking on the steps that they need to take so that they can be ready. And yeah, honestly, we need real stories, because parenting is not Instagram perfect. It's real. It's full of love. Take care of your heart and make sure to put yourself first. Okay, thanks for watching. And honestly, I love but yeah, the good times are really good. Like every day, me and Ace are just like, now that he's like a bit better, you know, sometimes we're just chilling and like laughing, and I'm tickling him and he's laughing and I'm laughing, and it's just so much fun. And he also can say a couple words. He can say mama, and he can say oh my, which we say a lot. And just hearing him like learn these words is wild to me, and him reaching his milestones is amazing, and it makes me so happy. And I've truly never been happier in my life. I thought meeting Sean, the love of my life, would make me the happiest, and I definitely am so happy with John. But having a child and just being with your kid, like that's a whole new level that I never thought I would experience. And yeah, I'm truly so happy and fulfilled, even though it is really hard. I'm very happy. Okay, so today's sponsor is Kind Laundry. Just kidding, they're not really a sponsor, but I do have an affiliate code. Kind Laundry use natural ingredients, and it actually comes in these sheets. So much more useful than liquid laundry detergent, because that stuff gets messy. With Kind Laundry, you can bring this anywhere. It's literally in a box, pack in your suitcase, and it's that easy. You can get 10% off by using code ZeroWasteCute.